Hi guys, I'm Marissa. Today I'm going to show you how to create a beautiful quote. This quote comes from the book Beautifully Said. Today I'm going to work with the quote, "The more we see, the more we are capable of seeing," by Maria Mitchell, who was one of the first female astronomers. So to get started, I kind of look at the quote overall and I kind of figure out what words I want to emphasize and what I feel like are the more important or more fun words. Instead of just writing in a plain cursive script or something, I'm playing around with bounce lettering here. So bounce lettering basically makes the page look more playful, and all you really have to do is vary where you start the letters. Instead of making them in a straight line, just go up or down a little bit with each letter. So now I'll do my A a little lower and my P a little higher here, and that just naturally will create a nice bounce. So next is just kind of go back in and erase the heavy lines. This way you can still kind of see a ghosted back image of it, but it's not interfering with your watercolors. For this project, I'll use the Dr. P.H. Martin's liquid watercolors, and they're great just because they're such vibrant colors. So especially for brush lettering where you really want some color, these are great options. Just to start, I'll put 1 or 2 drops in. You don't really need a ton of paint. So one thing you want to do to get started is just make sure you have some water in your paint and enough water in your brush. And as you're mixing up your colors here, you want to start with a lot of water and then add some color to it. This way you mix up enough of the color so as you're working, you don't have to remix the color mid-letter or anything. A lot of water on your brush also helps. I like to just paint the whole word in kind of a really light wash of the color. And then I go back and focus on every letter. For this word, I'm going to do a kind of an ombre effect. So I'm going to put a lot of water on the letter, and I'm going to do the top half in blue here. And I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom half of the letter in green. And you'll see if there's enough water on the paper, it'll kind of start blending itself here. And you'll see I'm switching back and forth between a bigger brush and a thinner brush. And for me, I find that it's really a lot easier to do small little details with a smaller brush. For example, this is a number 3 brush. And then when I want a more expressive, larger word, I like to work with a bigger brush. So the other brush I'm working with is a number 6. And you'll notice as I go back and put more color on the letter that it automatically flows to where there already is color. So that's helpful for controlling your lines once you get started. If it's wet, the new color will stay already where the water is. So for this word, I'm going to reverse the ombre. So I'm going to do the teal on top, and then I'll go back and add the blue to the bottom just to mix it up a little bit. And you'll see once I have enough water on here, I can kind of push the colors into each other to exaggerate the blending effects. And so if you'll notice, I'm going really heavy on the downstroke and putting more pressure on the brush, and the upstroke I'm going really light to get a much thinner line. This adds more contrast to the letters. So it's one of the more pronounced features of brush lettering is the varying line weight here. Nice thin light line on the upstroke, and a nice heavy thick line on the downstroke. Another thing to note about watercolors is the more water you add, the more transparent the color becomes. So if you want a really heavy saturated color and a really bright vibrant color, use less water. And then for really nice pretty light wash, or for building up layers and blending colors, I use a lot more water, which creates a more transparent color. For this word, I think I'll mix it up and add a little purple to the letters. One thing that's just really important with watercolors is to have fun and play and practice and experiment. You'll find a lot of watercolors can't really be taught. You just gotta kind of play around with it, see what you like best. And for this word, I'm just going to mix 3 colors into it since I have a little more space. I'm just going to mainly do the blue and purple, and then add a little bit of this phthalo green to really just have a tiny bit of an accent and a little more variety in the word. I find it really helpful to make a color chart before I start, so I just take a little bit of each color and make a little swatch of it on a scrap sheet of paper. And that way I know what the colors look like when they dry and what colors I want to use where. It just gives me a better idea as I'm working. When picking out paper, you generally want to work with something that's 140 pound or heavier. This will keep the paper from warping. The trick with small letters is just having a really good point on your paintbrush. It'll really make a big difference. So now that I've done, I feel like the yellow words are standing out a little more than I want to. So I'm just going to go back over them with a blue and kind of give them a second coat to make them blend a little more into the painting here. All right, so that's a wrap to this project. The great thing about this book is that there's so many inspiring sayings, so you can now take your artwork and frame it and give it to someone for Mother's Day or graduation gift that you can give to someone and share your inspiration with.